The United States of America appears to have suffered its first major defeat in the war in the Middle East. Iran attacked the Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia, resulting in 12 American servicemen officially reported wounded. In addition, the first footage has appeared online showing the first destroyed strategic tanker aircraft of the US military, which were based at this very airbase. And there are also satellite images showing black smoke rising from this airbase. In addition, the US has already launched more than 850 Tomahawks in 4 weeks of war against Iran, and some Pentagon officials are concerned about the rate at which the stockpiles of precision weapons are disappearing. But despite spending so many expensive missiles, the US can only confidently claim to have destroyed about 3% of Iran's missile arsenal after a month of war. That is about 33%. Although, let me remind you, Trump said just 2 weeks ago that the US had destroyed all Iranian missiles and drones, but that's not all. There's definitely something to discuss here. My name is Alexei Pechi. Let's discuss this topic together. But before we start this episode, I'd like to ask you to support this YouTube channel. You can do this by subscribing, donating, or becoming a sponsor. You can find all the links and details in the description of this video or via the QR code on your screen. At the end of the episode, if you find this information important and necessary, you can support this channel, including financially. I would be grateful for that. And don't forget to subscribe to my Telegram channel, Peachy News. The link to it is also in the description of this video. So, Iran struck the Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia. 12 US military personnel were wounded, 2 of them are in serious condition. Overall, Reuters notes that since the beginning of the war against Iran, more than 300 American servicemen have already been wounded. According to official Pentagon data, since the beginning of hostilities against Iran, 13 American servicemen have been killed. But it was the attack on Prince Sultan Air Base that became the attack that hurt the United States the most. It has been stated that this was a combined attack involving both missiles and unmanned aerial vehicles. Iran launched 6 ballistic missiles and 29 drones. The attack is one of the most serious breaches of American air defense in a month of war with Iran. But let me emphasize again, 6 ballistic missiles and 29 drones. This is nothing compared to the numbers Russia uses to attack Ukraine and Ukraine uses to defend itself. But here, this time Iranian missiles and drones broke through the US air defense. This airbase in Saudi Arabia is located in the central province of Al-Kharj, southeast of the capital, Riyadh. The main contingent of American armed forces in Saudi Arabia is stationed there. The airbase serves as a logistical and operational hub for US military facilities throughout the region, and it is at this airbase that the US keeps its strategically important Boeing KC-135 tanker aircraft. Satellite images from March 28 show smoke rising over Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia, and here the data varies. According to a CNN source, one KC-135 tanker aircraft was damaged at the airbase. But a New York Times source claims that at least 2 Boeing KC-135 tanker aircraft, Hashemi Ani, sustained significant damage as a result of this attack. Iranian media, of course, are already publishing photos supposedly showing the entire airbase on fire with almost all the planes burning. But we know how actively the regime in Tehran uses artificial intelligence. On the same day, Iran also decided to claim another victory for itself. In the central headquarters of the Iranian armed forces, Qatam al-Anbiya reported that they struck a warehouse of Ukrainian counter-drone systems in Dubai. Later, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine directly responded that this is a lie, and the Iranians simply learned from the savage Russians how to fabricate fake victories. They said there was no attack on Ukrainian specialists in Dubai. Well, let me remind you that the Russians, for example, captured the same cities 15 times over there. Putin publicly announces the capture of Kupiansk. Let me remind you, when did they take Kupiansk? Wasn't it late last year? But it turned out to be fully under control. But the point is that the US seems to have started taking its first serious losses, and not just as a result of direct attacks by Iran. According to Pentagon sources, the US has already fired more than 850 Tomahawk missiles in 4 weeks of war against Iran. Some Pentagon officials are alarmed by the speed at which the stockpiles of precision weapons are disappearing. The Wall Street Journal writes that the Pentagon does not publicly disclose the number of missiles in circulation. However, only a few hundred units are produced each year. Tomahawks are valued in part because they are capable of covering distances of more than 1,600 kilometers, which eliminates the need to send American pilots into enemy airspace. American officials said that significant reliance on Tomahawk missiles in a war against Iran would require urgent discussions about whether to redirect these missiles from other parts of the world, including the Indo-Pacific region. That's where China and Taiwan are. In addition, there is talk about coordinating the production of more of these missiles. Sources from the Washington Post noted that the Pentagon is tracking the number of Tomahawks used, paying increasing attention to what the rate of missile use would mean not only in a war with Iran but also for future military operations. One official described the number of these missiles remaining in the Middle East as alarmingly interesting. At the same time, another Pentagon official noted that the Pentagon is approaching the end of its Tomahawk stockpiles. Pentagon spokesperson Sean Parnell did not answer the question about the number of Tomahawks, both those expended and those remaining in the Middle East. At the same time, he emphasized that the U.S. military has, quote, everything necessary to carry out any mission, at any time, in any place chosen by President Trump and within any time frame. Well, basically just a standard excuse. Here, the Reuters agency simply brings shocking news. The US can confidently say that they've destroyed only about a third of Iran's missile arsenal after almost a month of war. The agency, citing 5 sources, writes that the US can confidently confirm the destruction of about a third, that is 33% of Iranian missiles, while the status of another third remains in question. It is noted that there is a possibility that as a result of the bombings, the missiles were destroyed, damaged, or are buried under rubble in underground tunnels and bunkers. One of the sources noted that the same situation applies to Iran's drones. That is, despite Trump's statement, they haven't destroyed anything yet. But Reuters reports that Iran still has a significant stockpile of weapons, and it can also restore some of the damaged missiles after the fighting ends. And third, that isn't the full missile stockpile. At the same time, the exact number of destroyed Iranian missiles and drones remains unknown, partly due to the difficulty of assessing stockpiles in underground bunkers before the war. According to various estimates, Iran could have had between 2,500 and 6,000 such missiles. According to experts, the United States may have overestimated the effectiveness of its strikes. Iran has more than 10 large underground complexes for storing launchers and missiles, and all of them are still active. And against this background, I noticed an article from Mizno which says that a month after the United States began striking Iran, US President Donald Trump is sending thousands of troops to the Middle East while at the same time claiming that he has already won this war. Such contradictions are causing irritation among senior White House officials and allies, but the root of Trump's statements simply shocked me. Next, I will quote one of the White House officials as reported by MS Now. Donald Trump's statement about the war with Iran already being won is mostly hyperbole. President Trump just wants to declare victory and move on. This desire has grown stronger in recent days. It's not that he regrets anything or something like that, he's just gotten a bit bored and wants to simply move on. Trump has already started shifting away from the conflict with Iran, turning his focus to the economy, domestic issues, and the upcoming midterm elections in Congress. End of quote. You see, Trump has just gotten bored already. I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. And friends, if you want to support the work of this YouTube channel, I would of course be grateful. You can do this by making a donation. Sponsorship on YouTube, paid subscriptions on different platforms, choose whichever option is most convenient for you. All the links and details are in the description of this video. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye, everyone.